Okay. Good evening, Westborough, and welcome to the meeting number 25 of the Advisory Finance Committee for FY 2026. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, an act extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, this meeting will be conducted in person and via remote means in accordance with applicable law. This means that members of the public body as well as members of the public may access this meeting in person or via virtual means. In-person attendance will be at Memorial Hall inside Town Hall at 34 West Main Street, and it is possible that all or some members of the public body may attend remotely with in-person attendance consisting of members of the public. This meeting may be accessed remotely via the link provided in the agenda. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by accessing the meeting remotely or as noted. Additionally, this meeting will be broadcast live in real time via Verizon Channel 28 and Charter Channel 192 or via Westborough TV's online platforms at westboroughTV.org and youtube.com/westboroughTV. And to begin with, we have got anyone for public comment? If not, we have got two presentations lined up here today. One is a citizens petition, article number 34 of the town warrant. And for that, if the folks presenting the students presenting the citizens petition could come forward, introduce yourself and take it away.
Oh, yes. Pass them.
Perfect.
There it is. Just gotta say that we've had a lot of people present, but no one's gotten the screen to work that quickly.
That's absolutely true.
take it.
That's absolutely true.
That's the
That's a Gen Z.
yeah.
Gerhard Doring, 40 Mount Pleasant Street.
Chloe Flynn, 5 Kendall Drive.
Olivia Stark, 26 Brewer Drive.
Ava Wallace, 22 Moore Street.
Awesome.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for having us present today. We really appreciate the opportunity to go through Warrant Article 34 with you. Warrant Article 34 is part of an initiative called Westborough Vote 16, which is a group both as a subcommittee on the Westborough Democratic Town Committee and a club at Westborough High School that is run by us, as well as has other student participants, as well as 2 faculty advisors. The goal that we'll talk about is we would like to lower the voting age in Westborough for 16 and 17-year-olds for town elections. Doing so requires a home rule petition, so state approval is required in order to grant these local voting rights to 16 and 17-year-olds. 16 and 17-year-olds under our warrant article would need to meet all other voting requirements, such as residency. It does not change who can run for office, even within the town, so that 18-year-old requirement would still exist, as well as any other requirements for running for office. And it does not impact state or federal elections, only elections, town meetings, and town caucuses taking place within Westborough. Our reasoning for lowering the voting age is 1, that local issues impact young people, 2, that voting early builds positive civic habits for the rest of an individual's life, and that 16 and 17-year-olds are mature and ready enough to take on this responsibility.
All right, so local issues impact young people. Local decisions made at town meetings directly affect students' everyday lives. So school budgets determine class sizes, course offerings, and student support services. So we experience the effects of these decisions firsthand. Town infrastructure also matters to us, so sidewalks, bike lanes, trails, road safety affect how students get to work, school, and other activities. Many young people are frequent users of public resources like the library, recreational programs, parks, and the community center. So because we actively use these spaces, we can bring a unique and valuable perspective. Finally, Many public health and safety initiatives are designed with students in mind. So things like mental health, substance abuse, and driving safety. Including 16 and 17-year-olds in local voting helps ensure that these decisions stay relevant to the people that they impact. Early voting builds lifelong positive civic habits. So this proposal isn't about short-term turnout, it's about long-term civic engagement. Voting is a learned habit, and research shows that the earlier you start voting, the more likely you are to continue voting throughout your lifetime. So allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote locally helps establish this habit at a time where students are still living at home and still connected to their community while they're still receiving civics education in high school. Additionally, local elections are the ideal entry point because they're high impact and directly connected to daily life. In all, basically, starting to vote early helps build consistent but informed participation later on as well. So here you can see a graph. So this graph shows voter turnout across different age groups in German elections. What's important here is that younger voters who are given the opportunity to vote early show stronger and more consistent participation of voting compared to older first-time voters. Since these students are given the opportunity to vote earlier before they are busy with college and continue to reside in this stability of their households, 16 to 18-year-olds vote turnout is much larger than that of 18 to 33-year-olds. Again, voting is a learned habit, and allowing 16 and 17-year-olds to vote in these municipal elections establishes this habit of voting when students are, again, connected to their community, still receiving civics education, and still residing with in a stable environment. The data here supports the idea that when civics habits start earlier, engagement is stronger, not weaker. And this reinforces the case to have 16, 17-year-olds vote in municipal elections.
Adding on to the fact that we're using data you're going to see here from Germany, and we're going to use some from Austria, Scotland later on. These are countries where not only on a local level, but on a national level, we've seen a push to include 16 and 17-year-olds in voting in these elections. And the reason we're using this data is simply because it's a longer term impact. This was done in 2020. We have data later from starting in 2014. So you can see year on year, actually things getting even better and how this initiative is continuing. And the reason we believe it's applicable to Westborough is we see in Westborough the fairly low turnout in just either in town meeting or in town elections. Last year, it was about 16% of registered voters actually showed up to the town election and cast a vote because there was nothing state or federal on last spring's town election. And this, again, you can see this trend in other countries of low turnout that actually does improve when you bring 16 and 17-year-olds in, not only during their starting age, but as they continue to grow. You see this grow throughout their lifetime.
So one of the main things is, are 16 and 17-year-olds ready and mature to be voting? So 16 and 17-year-olds already have many adult level responsibilities like working, paying taxes, driving, volunteering, and especially they can be tried as an adult for serious crimes. There's also the aspect of psychosocial maturity, which is continuing to develop into the early 20s, but the core cognitive capacities related to intaking information and making educated decisions is largely already mature by the ages of 16 and 17. And this places 16 and 17-year-olds close to the adult age range from 18 to 25, similarly cognitively in these domains. Students also demonstrate that 16-year-olds, quote, know as much about the American political system as do many young adults. The average score for 16-year-olds is much higher in civic knowledge than age groups like 19, 21, and 23, who are all currently legally entitled to vote. This mainly has to do with the fact that students are in the classrooms learning about civics, learning about our government actively, so they are able to apply those more when they're voting. Now we're addressing some common questions. So 16 and 17-year-olds don't pay town property taxes. Can they be fiscally responsible with their vote? So voting in Westborough has not been based on property ownership since the mid-1800s. These people that don't own property but can still vote include 18-year-olds, college students, renters, and other dependents that do not pay property taxes. While 16 and 17-year-olds don't pay property taxes, many have jobs where they experience income tax and payroll deductions, showing that they are involved in the economy and fiscally responsible. There's also 67% of college students pay fully for their own education, which is showing that ages close to 16 and 17 are already being largely responsible with their own finances. Will 16 and 17-year-olds just vote with their parents? Research shows that lowering the voting age does not increase parental influence on young people's political views, which is a common question. In Scotland, where we see 16 and 17-year-olds that are able to vote in all elections, only 58% reported the same position politically as their parents. While this is a majority, there's still a huge amount of the population that is intaking the information and making their own decision different than their household biases and different things that they can be hearing day to day, and they're still able to differentiate their own opinion.
And then another question we've been asked is, will 16 and 17-year-olds take the responsibility that comes with voting seriously? And kind of turning to more data here, research from Austria finds that 16 and 17-year-old voters participate at a similar or higher turnout level compared with older first-time voters. So that means voters who are voting at 16 or 17 show up more for their first-time voting than they do from 18 to 25. And you can actually see it gets worse the longer it takes for an individual to vote. And that's just because as individuals become older, they have more responsibilities. They might not be in the town that they need to vote in for most of the year if they're off in college or have summer programs or summer jobs. So 16 and 17 being still in that secondary school age shows a turnout that's actually comparable to baseline average turnout as compared with 18, 19, and so on.
And we are not alone in this effort. At least 12 municipalities just in Massachusetts have already passed similar home rule petitions to the general court. They have not been enacted yet because the state has to approve this in order for them to be enacted in the town. But if we were to pass this, and we would be another step in getting this passed in each of the individual towns and getting state approval. Some of these towns are Southborough and Boston. And also on a national level, California, Vermont, Maryland, and New Jersey have implemented similar measures in different municipalities inside of their states. Specifically, Maryland has reported higher voter turnout, more civic engagement among teens, and more conversation about civics in the classroom after passing this. And then on a worldwide level, places like Argentina and the UK have passed measures like this and enacted them. And as we've seen, like we've had data from Scotland and where else? Austria, yeah. In the UK passed in 2029, the UK. They've already passed it, but they will be enacting it in 2029 and implementing this measure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this amazing presentation. And I want to begin with the fact that I think we directly went into your presentation. I probably should have started with how much you already know about AFC. So I want to just give a quick 30 seconds for a quick intro, right? Because you are coming here presenting. I'm sure you are already aware, but just for, a quick intro and letting you know how our questions will be directed, because I would like you to feel that there will be a certain pattern. First of all, I want to say that how proud I am of being in Westborough, that we have such bright 16, 17, 18 years old who are coming here to present on this amazing topic. I mean, I've always been at my workplace as well. I've been always been vocal on having a team mix which is consisting of younger ones and the every age, like starting from as young as possible, because you bring a young, a fresh perspective, energy and efficiency, as Walter just said. So coming to AFC, right, a quick 10, 20 seconds. So we are the ones who are in, we are a committee of 9, although you don't see 9 here, you'll see couple of, I think one of them is right now remote, mostly couple of them are remote during our meetings. And our goal is really to do an independent financial analysis, see whatever has been brought to us in terms of, your article, does it match up with the taxpayer affordability, long-term sustainability, as well as the value for money? So if you now will hear some questions from us, probably that's how we will be, that's the lens that we will be providing. So again, extremely appreciative of, this initiative. I guess before I start, open it up for others to ask any question. I'm just curious how much research has gone into this.
We've been working.
Because there's a lot of data.
We've been working on this, I want to say, since July. Yeah.
Okay.
So
since
we've
July
been,
2025.
yeah, we've been going through a bunch of stuff, and we've had a lot of people helping us.
Wow, amazing, and especially the fact that I'm sure you're not getting paid for that. Good. I guess my only question here, right, would be that when you said, and by the way, when you said that 58% have voted same as the parents, I still feel it's too high, because I'm surprised 58% matching up with parents. I thought it would be much lower, being a parent myself and having a teen. I guess the only question I have, which I didn't see, is that in terms of the impact on costs, like, have you had a chance to talk to the town manager or staff, the town clerk, in terms of how much impact on cost will be, like how many more scanners are needed, how many more machines are needed? Because every year we arrange for electronic machines for the town citizens to vote. So was that also involved?
It's something we've thought about. I don't think we've had a chance to speak with them yet. Just to answer the question about like the 58%, first, we see kind of even into adulthood that the percentage of people who align politically with their parents is just quite high. Okay. Regardless of kind of age, which just makes sense with upbringing. So that's kind of one thing we noticed there. But about election costs, no, we haven't yet been able to speak with the town manager or town clerk about the election costs specifically, I don't believe. Mm-hmm. One thing of note is, first, in terms of ballots, for things like a spring annual election, it's going to be the same people on the ballot that both the students and the over 18 and over would be voting on, just because it's only a town election. You would, of course, see more turnout at town meeting, is what our data shows and what we're hoping for. But one thing we've considered is the fact that the town is working to be ready for the best case voter turnout scenario. So that would be the 14,000 registered voters in Westborough all turning out to vote. And when you're seeing really like 2,500 turnout for just a town election, that would tell us, and we can absolutely reach out and get confirmation that there is a lot of room there, because ideally everyone does vote in every election.
Yep. Sounds good. Thank you. Open up.
How much more increase would you see in terms of the registered voters if we make this happen? I mean, if we allow 16 and above to vote, how much would the number of registered voters increase from 14,000 to what would be the number?
So right now, it's at 14,000. Assuming everyone did wish to register and then participate, or we'll just go with registered voters, students have a couple of different opportunities to register, to pre-register to vote, which would, under our bill, would allow them to vote. So that's when they're getting their license at 16. If you're taking the SAT or signing up for something like that, the College Board gives you some resources to help you do that pre-registration. Students might just do it on the Massachusetts website in order to pre-register. So there's a lot of different ways. In best case scenario, you're looking at really I would say at most it would be 400 per grade level of juniors and seniors, right? The class, I believe, of 2026, are you guys like?
Over 300.
Yeah. So if you were to, I'd say best case scenario, and of course, not everyone in the sophomore class is going to be 16 by the spring election or the town meeting, but it would be probably looking at around 1,200 adding to, if you just add up those three.
And just to add on to that, if you look like 10, 20 years into the future, say we do pass this, then those people, as we've talked about, that we build habits by voting. So the people, and it shows that if the 16-year-olds and 17-year-olds who have begun voting show like a greater turnout as they get older. So if we look at 10, 20 years in the future, the people who we've started right now will continue to be showing up. So the numbers will build. It won't just be those added ones that you see in high school. It'll create a bigger community of voters.
Yeah, really, when we went into this, the two big things we were thinking of is obviously representing youth voices and kind of what youth priorities are, but then also trying to figure out why are we seeing such low voter turnout in town meeting, in town election. That was something we were really just trying to consider, and it ended up being that you see this younger age, this opportunity to get involved civically. A lot of people aren't able to take advantage of it, and really pushing, adding this extra layer. We're hoping that just like Chloe was saying, 10, 20 years in the future, we are hoping to see Westborough where there are more registered voters and there are more of those registered voters that are actually getting out to vote, even if it is a town election and there aren't state or federal questions on the ballot.
I have a question, and that is, because you were mentioning earlier, it seems like there was some analysis done by the group to see how the vote, would happen with the younger members, that they tend to align, 58% tend to align with their parents' votes. Was there any analysis done to see whether, what percentage of the younger voters tended to vote affirmatively on something that would have raised taxes, raised the tax bill, or raised some kind of cost? I'm just curious. And you may not have that data, and maybe that data doesn't exist as of yet, but I'm just curious if if you guys looked into that, how often, what percentage tend to vote on cost increases of some sort, whether it's tax or otherwise?
So that's actually data we're hoping to collect right now with a survey through our school, so that by town meeting, we will be able to give the voters an answer on that. In general, there is strong diversity just in political thought in general in Westborough schools. I'm just thinking of last year, the school did a mock federal election to just get an idea of what the breakdown was. And it was actually a closer, it ended up being a closer election than how the town voted in terms of just between the two leading candidates for that federal election. So it's not a perfect indicator to answer your question. We're working on getting data there. But students in general have a fairly diverse set of political views if you just survey one to the other.
Yeah, and I think what will help too, just to empower your position, if you do also enhance it with data that shows, are the youth more likely to vote on initiatives, on what we have before, on our warrant, those items that would increase the cost for the taxpayer, just to really put it in some dollars and cents. And as I said, that data may not be available as of yet, or perhaps it is from those peer towns that have, allowed the younger set to vote. But it would be interesting. And again, just to restate, are the younger voters more likely, less likely, what percentage tends to vote affirmatively for those items that would cause an increase in cost to the taxpayer? Just an interesting question. I myself am curious. And also, I'd just like to add, it was a real pleasure to hear how systematic and methodological your presentation was. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you.
What we have, yeah.
I just want to say that like some older first time voters might also cause an increase in tax rates as well. So it wouldn't just be the 16, 17-year-olds, you know, they're also a factor. So I thought that was worth mentioning.
I just don't think that's a particular valid assessment, kind of, in that you vote for what you vote. The probably on most town meeting articles, 80-something, 90-something% of people vote the same as each other.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how you sort through voting the same as your parents when there are only a few each town meeting articles that tend to be what I would call controversial, or at least
split,
usually debatable, where we get into the 50% or 70% no or something, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And-
So, and
Sorry, I just
I
wanted
don't
to
think
add
you
there.
could,
Sorry,
you
sorry,
could
sorry.
possibly have
Yeah.
data from those other towns yet, because if I understand correct, they aren't allowed to vote yet. The towns have petitioned the court, but the court has
In-
not yet said,
Yeah.
well, they probably
In-
haven't even gotten to it, knowing the legislature, right? They just don't put it on the thing they're going to discuss, right? So.
There've been a few committee meetings, but you're largely right there. Sorry, I was just gonna also add on there. Yes, we don't have any data from from the Massachusetts towns, but we do have some data from just those other places in the country where it is put into effect. The other thing, just on the question of like raising taxes that a couple of you have mentioned. Obviously, the school budget is the biggest player in the budget of the town, and students, yes, see how that is put to use, and students are actually able to see how it's put to use, both the good and the bad of that funding. So students do have an idea of kind of when I look at a budget line item on the school's budget that's being presented, students often do have some more context than even some parents might about what that is actually doing and whether or not it is being utilized well, just as any voter would have an opinion on it.
So I do have one question on your. I'm wondering where you say builds positive civic habits. I'm wondering if you have any more data on that. The chart you showed certainly shows that, yeah, if you allow people younger to vote, they show up higher than, say, the next group over. But I'm assuming there were studies that showed people start voting at 16 voted, 7% more than people who started voting at 18 or something like that. Can you expand a little bit?
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead?
I think part of the building civic habits is not only voting, it's just more like making the conversation around politics and around different policies more accessible and more relevant to younger people. Because I think even if we're not voting, but even if we're kind of encouraging people to think about that and to watch the news and to be more involved in what's going on in our country, state, locally, I think that will overall also just help voter turnout in the future, because if you're becoming more engaged with what's actually going on around you at a younger age, it's automatically going to be more positive in the future, not just voting, but just being educated civically in general.
And just answering your question about the statistics, I don't think we have any in the presentation. I don't have any on the top of my head. Sure. I don't know if any of you do, but there is a report on our website on Tahoma Park, Maryland. I believe that was 2014, where they actually, both there and then in Scotland, they did tracking polls following the same people who started voting earlier. And they did see, I don't have the exact number, but they did see a positive turn of events where more were voting than the average person in the population. I can try and get you some more of that information.
That's just more.
Yeah, hey, Prashant,
It might
I'm
be an
gonna jump
interest
in.
of a question. It may be of use at town meeting more than.
Thank you.
I don't personally.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Saroja.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in because I want to address. So the question and the comment that I made about whether there's data available, whether from Westborough or peer towns, about how the youth voters tend to vote on those, those items that may potentially increase the cost for taxpayers. I think that's a very valid question because I think, it was mentioned that it was not valid and people vote how they vote. But when we are trying to put forth, a compelling posture as to why the youth should be included in the general voting populace, I think it's very important to discount ahead of time arguments that could be raised as to why they shouldn't. And one of those common arguments are, well, you have individuals, who due to youth, to idealism, these are all assumptions, perhaps even baseless. However, if we're going to have a situation where we're trying to show that indeed the younger population votes with an even distribution like the rest of the population, then you want to make it very clear that in fact perhaps there are no patterns amongst the younger crowd, and that it would be perfectly reasonable to have them be a part of the voting membership. And that is why it's a very valid question, and I don't want it to be dismissed because there's a very real motivation and a very significant and important motivation as to why we should address that question, so that we can show quantitatively that there will not be a bias introduced by including them in the larger membership. So I just wanted to make that very clear.
Yes, I completely agree. People that I've talked to about this have raised, I think their first instinct is to be, but 16 and 17-year-olds, they don't have a realistic idea of the, they don't have a grasp on fiscal matters. And so they could do things that could not be good for the our town. And the thing about and I think that it will be very important to educate alongside the students and make sure that we are it's our first time voting. So yes. And but the other thing is that 18-year-olds have practically the same fiscal experience as 16 and 17-year-olds, basically identical. So I don't think that it's much of a difference between 16 and 17. I don't think it'll put our town in much more danger than it already is in. Yeah.
Well, sorry, I was just going to say real quick. The other thing to note is because we are currently receiving education in civics classes, all history components at the high school, which all students need to take 3 years of, have a civics component to them. And then there are also elective civics courses that many students take. Those students are getting active chances to look at budgets on both a town level, but also on a state and federal level, to get an idea of the different types of discretionary versus mandatory spending within any government. So 16 and 17-year-olds, as well as 18-year-olds, are getting these chances to have kind of some of this vocabulary reaffirmed that they're hearing in town meeting, that some individuals who, if they didn't kind of go down a political route, but are just like an average town meeting voter, these are things that, and vocabulary that they might not have had reaffirmed in 20, 30 years. And 16, 17-year-olds are constantly receiving that type of education. So they do bring with them, even if it is an emerging fiscal understanding, a fiscal understanding.
I would agree. Yep.
Of course.
I do think that the conversations politically and surrounding kind of financial matters has grown recently. And I think that we're seeing that reflect in civics curriculum, because I personally took a civics class this past semester at Westborough High School, and we spent a good amount of the semester talking about financial things like property taxes. We looked a lot at what the Federal Reserve is doing. And I think there's definitely a big focus on financial education, and that's definitely growing, which will help the younger age groups be more educated.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
I have an information sandwich, which is information, question, information. So the first thing is an observation that the article as it's written refers not just to town elections, but also to town meetings and town caucuses. And I say that because the conversation you had, a lot of the language you used was around elections, which are a thing, but the fact, and Saroja has gotten to this as well, that impacts budgets as well, and so it's a bigger package than just elections. So yeah, I won't say it wasn't clear, but I think there's an opportunity to make that point a little more clear as you talk. The question I was going to get to, and I think it sort of builds off of that, is the electoral franchise is really just the last mile of what ideally comes from an informed electorate. And you guys in a school with buildings and walls and people trapped in there have like an amazing microcosm. Well, it's kind of trapped. Tell that to the truant officer that we have, but don't tell them we don't have a truant officer. But the key is it's an opportunity to educate and inform folks to be better citizens about what's on the warrant, what's in the electoral offices. Could you talk to me a little bit about what the goal is, to take this seed, which if it is planted and if it grows, what is the school, what are you guys going to do to be able to ensure that that seed can be fertilized and, improved upon and helped to grow?
Yeah. Obviously in our next really 1 or 2 years in Westborough schools, we've been pushing this initiative from the beginning of school. We've been working to get more students involved, and we've seen a lot of student engagement, which has been great. We've also seen a lot of teachers that are excited about this from the perspective of it gives their civic students something real to think about when they are going through a lesson regarding a type of spending or a certain type of legislation. There's some grounding where students actually feel that they can use the skills that they're learning. I think there are so many civics groups at the high school, not just our club, but so many other clubs that are doing great work, whether it's about downtown, making it more walkable, or I think we got an email about that recently, or about engaging with senior citizens and bridging the generation gap, and so many different political participation methods that we're seeing in the school. And then, but I would ultimately just say that the teachers are already doing such a good job preparing us for this. And I believe that our initiative is just adding some realistic footing to what students are already getting to experience. And I will say, as Chloe mentioned, in these other places, whether it's Oakland, California, or Tahoma Park, Maryland, or these other locations in the United States, you're seeing an increase in civics education, both from the students, and you're also seeing suddenly civics education is even more important to adults and more important to people in the town because these students are active members of the electorate, and the best option is to ensure that they're informed about processes so they can make decisions that are best for them, and they can go through and make high quality votes.
Another thing, through our club, Westborough Vote 16 at the high school, we've made plans to collaborate with the history classes as well to make sure that the students become informed about what our club is trying to advocate for. So then students who are 16, 17-year-olds can learn about what's going on and this how to stay civically engaged and start doing so. So the teachers have been very supportive in that as well, especially the history teachers.
Awesome. I appreciate
Thank
the
you.
teachers
The,
as well.
the last thing, a suggestion, because I said there was a sandwich, is I think you guys talked about the civic habits, building the right civic habits, and I think that's valuable. I take nothing from that, but I think there's an opportunity also, take my suggestion or however you would, to demystify the process to people, to educate people as to where to go for information. So you take away some of the stigma of uncertainty, the unfamiliarity of it, and I think that is as important as sort of breaking through to building the habits. So just food for thought. Thank you. Great presentation.
Absolutely. Thank you. Any other question?
Just one last
Yeah.
question.
Oh,
So-
sorry.
How long does the legislative process will take for you guys to, from, say, if this goes through, when do we actually start using this?
Yeah. Right now, it is in a phase where there have been many municipalities that have, including Boston, Cambridge, as we mentioned, Southborough recently for 17-year-olds. So these are currently bills that are sitting in the state legislature. and they've been introduced and have seen like some committee review, but they have not, none of them have been brought to the floor for debate. So they haven't been affirmed on the floor nor negated. The hope is, and what we intend to push for, honestly, regardless of whether or not Westborough votes for this, we're passionate about this issue, and we plan to go to the state house and be able to work with legislators. We've already discussed with a few of them about this issue. And it really what it is it needs constituent support and constituent pressure. The legislature is doing so much work already, and they just need to see more towns interested in this. And we hope to add Westborough to the growing list of towns. There are other towns where currently this is an article on their Springtown meeting.
I just want to add something that we're also thinking of helping other towns promote this and growing the movement, which I think in effect will help our chances of having this be debate in the general court, but also just we also see that we need like school system support and a lot of support around town to make this happen and to just have students be more educated on civics in general. And I think that helping other towns do this will also add to the movement and make this a lot stronger and more of something that people can be more certain on.
So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is that the bill has been introduced, but then it hasn't caught enough attention or fire for it to be discussed and get approved.
Yeah, many bills have been. Yeah, and it's there have been many.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, most bills don't make it to passage. So many are introduced both federally and in the state general court. But there have been committee meetings where individuals like us, that students who presented to their town meeting and did get the approval, are now attending these committee meetings and trying to push for it, testifying about the facts, just as some of the same facts that we're mentioning here. It's still early. And while some other states have caught on, Massachusetts would still be on the bleeding edge bringing this in. So it's just adding more towns, seeing more towns that are interested in something like this.
Yeah, that's where I was going to follow up. That are we also collaborating with other towns to get this awareness and you know, have them support you?
Yes, we've spoken with several people in Massachusetts, including the person who just helped get it passed in Southborough.
Okay.
We've been in communication with Vote 16 Massachusetts. Arlington as well. I believe, Arlington, and then Vote 16 USA, which is a group that has, we're not associating ourselves with their entire mission, but they have, one of their goals is local elections and nationwide. And so we've spoken with them. We've been able to hear kind of both their successes and their failures and kind of build upon that.
Thank you.
I was just a curious question. What decided you folks to go down this road?
Yeah, I've always been interested in civic participation. I learned about town meeting. Really, I didn't realize it was a thing until I was in like 9th grade, and then I was like, wow, we in New England states, in towns, we are our town's own legislature. So having the opportunity to put something like this forward is something that in New England is like a unique aspect. We're able to address our town and push for something like this and then get a real-time vote on it. So that was just knowing that we have the opportunity to do this in New England. I know that was important to me. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I think also me specifically, I grew up in a household where it's like very common to talk about civics at the dinner table conversation, and I realized how valuable that's going to be in my like early adulthood and adulthood after that. And so I think that I realized how getting that to more people and making that more accessible is very important and can be very good for just the future of our, like at every level, local, state, federal. And so I think I realized how that's very important and how we can really make an impact on our age group. And I think sometimes when you're young, it's hard to see how you can make an impact and do things like that. And I think this is giving us a lot of confidence in that. And it's a great way to just get involved as youth.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, I always saw voting is a right. So I became interested, like my family always would discuss the politics in our households, and our nation is a democracy, and democracy starts with local people. So the local elections give our real events that are really impactful in what our state does or the state decisions. So I always, when I learned more about it, I wanted to be more involved and more educated about what it does.
Anytime I see like an issue, I just feel the need to be able to do something about it. I'm pretty sure I like called my representative about climate change in 7th grade. And last year in history class, we were learning about the town meeting, and my history teacher just went through the whole thing, and we were talking about the controversial measures that were put into the meeting, and I felt the desire to participate and just use my voice and do something, but I didn't really know where to go from there. And so when I heard about this, I wanted to learn about how government worked. I wanted to see what place I could have in this system.
And something we've all discussed is the 26th Amendment, which brought voting nationally to 18-year-olds, with a big reason for that being the fact that they could go off and fight in the Vietnam War. And to see that students now have, well, they're not going to war, not being drafted for war at 18, they still have so many responsibilities available to them before they are 18. For one, with parent permission, you can join the armed forces at 17. The age of consent in Massachusetts is 16 years old. You can drive at 16. You can drop out of school without your parents' permission at 16. So all of those different reasons, to me, are a reason that the same spirit that was behind the 26th Amendment and lowering the voting age then is similarly applicable to modern day, as responsibilities for young adults and teenagers have just continued to increase.
Well, thank
Well
you.
heard. Thank you.
Those are all
And,
great answers. You're going to run for office somewhere now? No?
Awesome. I think we are well in interest of time. Thank you so much for your presentation. Lovely, and all the best. I hope it gets the fire that it needs at, not fire in the literal sense, but yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
We really appreciate it. Thank you
So
for your
I
time.
think I just want to give one more thing while they are present. The committee recommend we vote now so that, I mean, in their presence, we can get through this article as well from a standpoint. Can we do that so that they get a chance to see how AFC votes as well?
So I'm fine with that.
Don't fall asleep for this, but
Okay, so we'll vote on Article 34. Somebody to start the motion.
Ready for that?
No,
Yes,
here,
absolutely.
I got it.
I mean, you can also, if you wanted to. Go ahead.
Leslie, I'll move that the AFC recommend the town vote in favor of Article 34, a citizen petition authorizing the select board to submit a home rule petition as written in the warrant.
Bradley, second.
Any discussions, comments?
No, I think it's great.
I agree with that. I mean, this is something which I really, like, once again, feel proud of, that we have such bright minds in our high school.
And
Okay,
it's not just that, they were so thorough. They were so thorough
yes.
and covered all the, imminent aspects that may come down the road in terms of, further discussion, and very, very well researched. And the poise was outstanding, the poise and the disposition, but more importantly, their readiness to answer all kinds of questions and the breadth of questions is really remarkable.
Awesome. All right, thank you. We'll start the voting. Ahuja, yes.
Angelakis, yes?
Bradley, yes.
Clap, yes.
Hansoge, yes.
Kumsi, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Thank you. So the AFC recommends Article 34 to be passed by the town. Thank you so much. Appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Great job.
Okay. Next, we move to Specialized Energy Code, Article 30. We have,
Tough act to follow, just saying. You know?
Good luck.
Thank you. Thank you so
you.
As a
much.
counterpoint to the youth we
Turns out
have.
the audience is also not for you, P.
Oh. Oh, my goodness. Well, you've got Christy, though.
To be working.
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. I think you have to speak closer to the mic, maybe. Yep.
Thank you for the chance to speak. I'm Pete Dunbeck. This is Peter Flynn, who's the chair of Sustainable Westborough. I'll be our presenter tonight, but we'll both be answering questions, and we appreciate your time. So we're here to talk about Article 30 and a proposal for Westborough to change its bylaws to incorporate the Specialized Energy Code. Our current code, as you may know, is the Stretch Energy Code, which was adopted in 2016 and has evolved over time. If we adopt the Specialized Energy Code, we propose that it go into effect January 1st of next year. Important to note that this change only affects new building construction. The Specialized Energy Code promotes electrification and energy efficiency, and it's a requirement for a new program the state has called Climate Leader Communities. So the first question people want to know is, how does this affect me as a business or as a resident? The reality is 99% of people, it is not a major impact. It improves the environment for everybody. There's very little direct financial impact for most people. There's potential future tax savings as we get grant monies. It offsets tax levy, and it saves on utility bills directly for people who are occupants of the buildings that get developed that are more efficient, and indirectly by lower stress on the utility infrastructure. What types of buildings are included in the Specialized Energy Code? What types of construction is included in the Specialized Energy Code? Again, emphasizing it's only new building construction, which begs the question of what's excluded. Additions, alterations, change of use, all different descriptions that are in the code are all excluded. In fact, the guidance says very explicitly there are no additional requirements in the Specialized Code, and it points the implementers back to the Stretch Energy Code. So what is changed with new construction? Well, there's no change for most buildings that are being built today, because if you're all electric and in your most building categories, single-family homes, office buildings, municipal buildings, retail, etc., if you're all electric, there are no changes. There are changes for two reasons. One is if you use fossil fuel, and there is then a requirement to add solar to the building, as well as pre-wiring for future electrification. The solar provides an economic benefit of producing the electricity the building needs and has an economic payback. In the pre-wiring is an efficiency where the cheapest time to put in wiring for electricity is when the walls are open and the building's under construction. So it's the lowest cost time to prepare for electrification, even if at this time you want to use fossil fuels. DOER has provided us some data since we last came to you, and now less than 10% of new commercial buildings are being built with fossil fuel. They're being built all electric because of incentives, because of the codes, and so forth. So the majority of buildings are in the first column. The other third column is the exclusion of building type that was on the list at the left. Multifamily buildings are a different category, and they require meeting a passive house efficiency standard. Passive house makes the building more efficient, and most all of them are electric, almost 100%. In the data that we've recently received from DOER, the acceleration of passive house buildings in Massachusetts has really been quite phenomenal. Right now, over 80% of multifamily housing built in mass-safe communities are already being built to passive house. So there's a few multifamily buildings that might be impacted. There's a few that are using fossil fuel, but the vast majority of buildings have no impact for the stretch energy code, even in the new construction.
Pete, I apologize for my ignorance, but can you explain what is passive house? Because without understanding that, it might be a little bit hard for us to follow.
Okay.
At least for me.
Passive house is a specification for a process for building a house, building a building of any sort. You can, Hopkinton, for example, is building their new school to passive house standard. So it's a specification, has a heavy focus on control of the building envelope. And you have a requirement to hire a passive house verifier who inspects the building as it gets built to make sure all the tape is done properly and all the caulking is done. And then there's intermediate tests on blower door to make sure it's sealed up properly, so that when the building is done and you do the final test, you get the building you expected to have. So it's a standard. Techniques are not really dramatically different than existing techniques. It's the rigor in the process and the fact that it gets inspected along the way.
Don't most buildings which get constructed and go through these intermediate checks, inspections?
Informally, yes. This is a third-party, basically auditor, that inspects it and confirms that it gets done, and you have to get them to sign the certificate at the end. But they make sure it gets done along the way.
Thank you.
And we've talked to developers and construction companies, and the ones who have experience with it actually appreciate it because it makes their projects more predictable. They don't find problems after the wallboards have all been put up and find out the walls are leaking. So they have inspections early on and they find the problems and fix them when they're easiest to fix. Cost a little bit more, you got to pay for this extra guy to be on site, but they generally appreciate it, and that's why it's grown to 80% without being in the code in most of those communities. So why adopt this code and why now? Well, Westborough's adopted a climate action plan, and it establishes a goal that we're going to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions consistent with the state. This was also reinforced in the master plan. The town has a strong commitment to do greenhouse gas reductions. In Massachusetts, and we're aligning across the board with the state programs and goals. So Massachusetts has now incentivized adoption of this code as part of the Climate Leader program and has new grant money available to towns that have attained the Climate Leader designation. Why now? Earlier adoption, you get more opportunity for grant money. The pool of communities that we're competing with for this Climate Leader grants is pretty small now, and we'll have 2 or 3 years of a smaller population. We were very late to the market, to the party in green communities, and we got a lot less money than a lot of our neighboring towns because they adopted it. Hopkinton adopted it 8 years before us. Delaying is bad because the buildings emit greenhouse gases for decades, and then it becomes expensive for the building owners to fix the problem and convert to electricity in the future. More efficient buildings mean lower impact, whether it's gas or electric infrastructure upgrades. It's lower impact across the board. All ratepayers share in the cost and their utility bills of infrastructure upgrade. Higher quality buildings benefit occupants with healthier environments, quieter environments, so forth, lower utility bills. 56 communities have already adopted the specialized energy code, with 2 to go in effect July of this year. This represents 32% of Massachusetts population have already adopted this. And our understanding from DOER is that 8 communities are planning to put it in their spring town meeting. They may not go through with it, they may not vote for it, but there's 8 in the works along with us, including us. I think we're in the 8. How can the grant money be used? It's primarily expected to be used for decarbonizing town buildings. The grants are for municipal use. It's not grants for commercial buildings or whatever. It's commercial, it's buildings for town and schools. HVAC systems, installing solar arrays and so forth. We looked at the capital plan. In the 5-year capital plan, there are various HVAC systems, energy efficiency like the windows in Forbes Municipal Building are in the longer term plans. Those type of buildings are candidates for use of this money. And every time we get state grant money or utility grant money, it offsets tax dollars for the work we need to do. So a net effect of this is lowering the tax. We have talked to a bunch of communities, and I won't read all of this, but these are communities that have adopted it and implemented it. They find it very effective. There was concern, of course, about how it would impact development and affordable housing and otherwise, and they're saying they're seeing none of that. Lexington actually saw a surge of new affordable housing. Natick has seen no change in their construction since the specialized code became effective. Passive house has not been a problem. It's a change. It's a new process, but builders are getting used to it. The town manager of Hopkinton references that designers and builders, inspectors all have to go through a change, but it's been a smooth transition and not been a problem. So in summary, our proposal unlocks a new source of state grant money, reduces harmful greenhouse gas emissions, and really tips the scale in favor of electrification over fossil fuel use. It's better for occupants with lower utility costs, healthier, quieter indoor living environment. In the better quality buildings, but it does not impact existing buildings. Alterations, change of use, residents can still, convert a garage into a new bedroom or whatever. That type of change or renovation of one of our buildings can be done without any impact by the specialized code. Open to questions.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Any questions from the AFC? Go ahead.
Thank you. So I think I heard you say that the costs are least for new construction. Also that there's feedback from some folks that say that they're not seeing any impacts on the building that they're having in their community. But ultimately, potential of additional costs is something we would have to weigh against our neighbors, because that's where people are going to be making decisions as to where they spend their dollars. So could you talk about, and I saw some of the benchmark communities were listed as well. Could you talk about which communities around us are currently requiring this extra step versus, where which may be competing with us for construction?
So there's a couple parts there, kind of the cost part and then the which town part. The vast majority of buildings are being built all electric, so there's no cost because they're kind of in the first column, unless they're multifamily house, and then they're those multifamily housing buildings require the passive house. Our discussions with other builders, and some state data that was done by Consigli Construction indicates it's about 1% to 4% cost. And in general, as we talk to people, it's kind of on the higher end of that when they get started, the first building. But as they get used to it, they get more efficient and it's more at the lower end. But it's highly variable. It depends on the surface area to volume space. It's the shape of the building. Taller, bigger buildings have a different ratio than a ranch. So it's that type of a cost. In regard to competing with other communities, the vast majority of buildings wouldn't matter because they're all electric and they're not being impacted, or they're multifamily, and a lot of the multifamily, 80% of the multifamily is already being built to passive house in mass safe communities. Which communities? We have a map view of this that shows kind of distribution. It's really from Westborough all the way into Boston, every community. So it's Hopkinton, Ashland, Framingham, Natick, and then north and south it goes up to Chelmsford and down to, I don't know what the most southern town is, but it's a big swath. It's generally the 495 and in-belt. There are some, Amherst and I don't know whether Springfield, I don't think Springfield, but Amherst is adopted it, and a few other western towns, but it's mostly inside the 495 belt.
So I'm not seeing the Northborough, Southborough, Marlborough. And the fact that there's a cost and that it's ultimately a fairly de minimis cost at this point, I think that my concern would be that there's the perception that it costs more to build in Westborough because of things like the specialized energy. And I like the idea of doing this. I'm a big fan of it. It's all the right things, but I'm worried about the perception that we are a more expensive town. So I'd be curious to know, what the impact of having Hopkinton. Actually, it looks like that's a benchmark. If they're already doing it, have they seen any impact on the investment of construction in their town?
I think that was the feedback which was covered in one of the
Was
slides.
Hopkinton one of those?
Hopkinton is
Oh, there we go,
the
the very
first
first one.
section.
From the
So
town
Okay.
manager.
they're seeing clear benefits to the town in regard to kind of the efficiency of doing it, learning how to do it, coordinating between builders and designers and so forth. They have found it to be smooth. It's a change, so there is some learning process. Our building department's going to have some learning to go through. Yeah.
Peter Flynn, 3 Crown Ridge Road. I think you have touched on an issue that was foremost in our mind when we started working on this. Sustainable Westborough first approached this because of the environmental benefits, but one of the questions we had is, so what are the other impacts that potentially are going to come to the town? And one of the things we were concerned about was the cost issue. So how is this going to affect building in Westborough versus building elsewhere? What we've learned through the process is that the competition, what buildings we're talking about, there aren't many. Because the data tells us that when it comes to buildings that are being built in the Commonwealth, they're at this point over 90% all electric. And so those buildings aren't affected by this at all. So you're a very small subset of buildings that are affected that could potentially be looking at comparisons between towns. And when you look at the multifamily component, and the big change in multifamily is adopting this passive house standard of design and construction. Most of the buildings, multifamily buildings being built today, whether it's required or not, are already adopting the passive house standard. Recent data indicated that over 80% of new multifamily building is moving there. So when you're talking about what's the impact, what's the scope of buildings that might be affected, you're talking about a very, very small component. So for most buildings, this is not a comparison between Westborough and others. They're already going to be building all electric. They're already going to be building multifamily to passive house standard. But there has been analysis done by what's the impact on development in town. With housing development, when you adopt the specialized code, an organization called Passive House Massachusetts did an analysis of data over a 2-year period from July of 2023 to July of 2025. And they looked at what's the impact on housing development in communities that adopted the specialized code. And what they found out was that the specialized code doesn't hinder housing development. In fact, over that 2-year period, specialized code communities actually added housing at a higher rate than communities that were not on the specialized code. That doesn't mean that the specialized code promotes development, but I think it's a good indication it's not It's not hindering development in those communities. And in fact, of the communities that adopted the specialized code, they actually saw an uptick in both the number of housing units developed and the number of permits that were issued in the year after the specialized code was adopted versus the year before. So the data is indicating that that adoption of the specialized code really doesn't hinder housing development in the communities across the state that have adopted it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So you brought up one good point. I mean, like, can you go back to the slide? We had 3 pillars.
The list of towns?
No, in the beginning.
This
Yes, this one. On the second bullet, second column over there, you said less than 10% still use fossil fuels. I can't imagine how anybody can use fossil fuels these days because all of that energy is coming through your utility provider, for example, Eversource or Engrade. And what happens, how the power gets generated is based on what happens at the grid level. I mean, like, whatever.
So this is referring to, for example, in Westborough, Eversource providing natural gas to the building.
Right.
So only 10% are new buildings are going to natural gas. And I'll use as an example, Pulte in the Del Webb community. They had 14 buildings, 50 units each. They built 7 of them, and they had a gas pipeline put in for those. The new code came out, not the specialized code, but the stretch code, and they converted the second 7 buildings are going to be all electric. They're building them with heat pumps now. And so they converted it based on the changes with the specialized code, not associated with what we're proposing. So it's indicative of how the new energy code that came out in 23 is already causing the market to change. So it's the fossil fuel there is referring to natural gas primarily.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Any other question? Go ahead.
I was just going to make a comment. Walter was just saying, I'm from Del Webb, and all their earlier buildings have gas,
Oh, you just said that.
but not the older building. I mean, the newer buildings are all electric now.
Yeah.
And we've got 8 more buildings to go.
And that's indicative of the market shift that's happened over the last few years at a surprising rate, actually.
Yeah.
When we were starting, we were more like, what's the cost and how, and it turns out that the cost isn't going to be much because most of the buildings are already building to the standard that we're trying to push people to.
Well, the people don't like their electric bill, though, I'll have to say. You know, it's high.
And that 10% should be diminishing very soon to almost 0 because if the code dictates us to use electric.
Yeah, it doesn't mandate, it still allows fossil fuels, but it then requires you to put in solar and pre-wire for electricity to do an electric conversion in the future.
Okay.
Could I follow up on your comment? Because I think it's a reason why the town should adopt the specialized code. People are concerned about their electric bills. They're concerned about the affordability of electricity. And given that the market has already moved to basically all electric, the real decision or the difference between what we have today and adopting the specialized code is which is going to be more affordable going forward. New buildings that are built to the existing code are new buildings that are built to the specialized code. And the specialized code is more affordable in 2 respects. Number one, Pete talked about the passive house standard. It's a tighter envelope, which means that those buildings use less electricity than a building that's not built at passive house. And so the net impact is lower electric bills for the people that occupy those buildings than if they could be built under the existing standard. The second, which is a broader concern because it affects everybody in town, is because buildings built to the passive house have a lower electric demand than buildings that are not. The addition of new buildings to the community, at some point you can use up the existing space in the electric distribution system, whether you have to add new infrastructure, but the passive house actually uses less peak electricity than another building. And so passive house actually allows us to defer new investments in the grid that might otherwise be needed to meet new buildings that are built in the town. And from that perspective, it's a potential savings to all the people in town that pay electric bills.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything from remote, Saroja? No, I think we are good.
Okay,
I appreciate your presentation. Thank you so much.
thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Hey, Prashant, thank you. No questions.
Okay, thank you, Saroja. Okay, awesome. We are done with the presentations. We'll move next on the agenda with the town meeting, and we have a few warrants to close as well as the operating budget. So,
What
are we
about
ready?
DPW, no?
DPW, I think, has sent
Oh,
out
yeah, he
the
sent it out.
notes,
Okay, that's
I hope.
right.
And I didn't hear back any response that we still need more information. I
No.
think everyone was comfortable with what was
Yeah, that was
given.
fine.
So we
Yeah,
don't have.
Chris sent very clear responses.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So I responded him today morning that, yeah, we can skip it.
we need to drag them.
Yep. Okay, so
What do you
I
want to
think,
start with, budget, article?
I would suggest, I would suggest if we can wrap up with the articles, there are just a few remaining. Then we can get to the operating budget. I think there is
I think-
reserve fund refresh, which we now know is an amount of 400,000.
I'll move this, but it's probably worth some discussion. I move that the AFC recommend to town meeting for Article 4 to transfer $400,000 from free cash for the purpose of using in the AFC reserve.
Bradley, second.
Any questions?
Well, I just
None
did-
for me.
Just did a little analysis because we have about 200,000 remaining in our reserve at the moment. We've spent 181 as of whenever that was, last week or so, on snow and ice. So basically, the reserve is right now kind of would be at zero, and mathematically, it isn't at zero because we don't have to do that
We
till the
haven't
end of the
done
year.
the transfer yet. Yeah.
And we've authorized up to $400,000 of additional snow and ice, of which 219 is not spent or 181 spent. So I think this is prudent. If we were to end up using, history shows we end up using more often the material than the labor, because the material can be used on many things more than the actual people that are plowing it. But if we did use that up, and we just refreshed it back to the amount we have now, we don't have anything left if something bigger happens. It comes from free cash, goes back to free cash. So I just think it's a recommendation of John and Christie to do this. So I'm just being supportive of it. I think
Yep.
Looking at the numbers, it made sense to me.
Hearing you though, I think I'm just thinking, and maybe Christy is here, she can comment as well, that is there anything on the legal side that we should be thinking about as well when we are budgeting for this money? We have so far budgeted for the snow and ice, but from legal standpoint, do we need to put some extra money in as well?
Well, this is extra because
Yeah.
there's, in essence, beyond the snow and ice, even if they spent all
There is 200.
400, there's still 200.
200, exactly. I agree
to be
with that.
clear.
But I thought we were increasing the legal budget also this year based on the prior experiences.
Right. So Article 5 is replenishes the
Yeah.
puts money
Right.
into the legal budget. So I can give you that number as well. It's $100,000. But also just noting when you're thinking about the reserve fund, one of the things that John and I talked about is in May and June, you have the opportunity along with the select board to do interdepartmental transfers. So if we have
Okay.
budgets that have surpluses in them, those are usually based on transitions in positions. So if someone retires, there's a vacancy. So you're really only that 180,000 that you're sort of leaving in your budget, replenishing, however you want to look at it, is really largely covering us from town meeting until May, when we can make those interdepartmental transfers. So it's a pretty short time frame, just when you think about it.
Historically, I mean, like last year, we refreshed it and didn't use any.
Yeah.
So maybe we will again.
Right.
But it's our job also to be keep things responsible because you just don't know.
Exactly. Yep. Cool. Okay. Any questions further? So we are having this motion for 400,000 from free cash to refresh the reserve fund.
Yeah, so I removed it and
Yep.
Andrew seconded
second.
it. So
Andrew
we-
seconded.
so we're
Oh
all
yeah,
set.
that's right.
But I don't know if the word refresh is quite the right word for it at this point. So, like to put in the,
Well, it says refresh in
I
the,
know,
yeah.
that's because that's what our,
Okay.
We usually aren't taking more than
than the original
Yeah.
amount.
Yep. All right. Ahuja, yes.
Angelakis, yes.
Bradley, yes.
clap yes.
Hansoke, yes.
Kumsi, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Thank you. So the AFC recommends refresh Article 4, FY26 Reserve Fund refresh. 7,
Prashant.
yeah, 700. I'll just finish this first. Yes,
Are
please.
you going to vote on the article that we just discussed tonight? If we are, we'll wait, otherwise we'll,
Oh, yeah.
We can
I
move
don't
to
see why
that.
not.
Yeah, we can do that now so
Nobody
that
has a
you are free
reason why
to
they couldn't.
move on. Yep.
We just started doing them numerically, but there aren't that many that we haven't done. It's not like maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah,
Three or
there's
four.
just a few remaining. Yep.
Okay, so then, for Article 5, I move we transfer $100,000 from free cash for the purpose of the legal expense budget.
Bradley, second.
Any comments?
Yes, I move we recommend. The town vote there.
Yep. Any questions or comments? Discussions? Ahuja, yes.
Angelakis, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Clap yes.
Hansoke, yes.
Kumsi, yes.
Leslie, yes.
So the AFC recommends the town Article 6, Article 5, legal expenses budget, 100,000 from free cash, 700.
So, if I just like one sentence, just because we have new people here too, I think it's interesting to explain that for legal expenses, we added money directly to the budget, whereas for snow and ice, we're using a AFC reserve. And there is a strategy to that because we, as you know, our budget for snow and ice, we tend to budget for a not so big winter and then add to it when the winters are big so that we don't raise inappropriate money that we wouldn't normally use. If you raise the budget of the snow and ice, that becomes, I believe, the minimum for the budget for next year. So I think there is a reason to do these two in this method, at least my understanding.
Just to add to that, so snow and ice, we're legally allowed to deficit spend, which means we can spend more than we have in the budget. And then it allows us to raise those additional funds on the cherry sheet when we go ahead and set the tax rate. Traditionally, Westborough has tried to cover those expenses through the reserve fund so that we're not further taxing to make up our deficit spend. Which is why you're replenishing your reserve fund, but then you would use it on this known need. But you're also right that if you increase your budget for snow and ice, or I should say, if you reduce your budget for snow and ice going into a following year, I believe it's a 2-year period before you're allowed to deficit spend. And that obviously is something that the state has put in place to keep communities from lowering their budget too much.
So in the event we spend less than what we had budgeted for, that surplus funds will go into the reserves.
Correct. It becomes
Yes, yeah,
not reserves, free cash.
free cash,
Sorry.
yes,
Yeah.
yep.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Too
At
many.
the end
too-
of the year,
too many
July
buckets.
1st, in theory, it falls to free cash. Well, if you pay, once you pay the bill, so they actually have till the end of the month, July. But
How often do we go into that situation?
We have not, I don't think we've approved deficit spending in a few years, just given the winters that we've had.
Okay.
You may have to go back to
Since I've been
2015, I guess. 2015 was the last
Definitely
one.
2015. I don't know if we've done it since then, but definitely.
since we've been here we've spent some money out of our reserve, but I don't remember us never not having enough.
Yeah, it's been a long time,
Yeah.
just because of the winters. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Petrol Union, Article 6, we don't have the
Right.
money
So
yet,
skip
that's
that.
still in progress. We'll skip operating budget for now since that's a list of line items.
Do we need this prior year bills?
We are all set
There
there.
are none yet.
Okay.
There are none yet, yeah, so we'll just do it on the day of the town meeting. Okay, moving to Article 11D, which is
11D is,
D?
yes. Okay, that's the gravestones,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
So I haven't had a chance to look at the presentation yet. I saw the email where you referenced it.
Yeah.
So I would prefer
Okay.
not to vote on this now if possible.
Okay.
sure, okay.
I felt that presentation was similar to the hazardous tree presentation. You know, the cemetery that they're falling over and some of them are broken and they have
So
to
it talks
fix them.
about widow makers from tombstones
The
toppling
widows
over.
are in the cemetery.
Oh, yeah,
Widow's done been made.
yeah.
Right, 24.
24,
Michelle?
yes, that's right.
This is the one that Chris sent. I move the AFC recommend town meeting vote in favor of Article 24, an easement for West Park Drive and Flanders Signal as written in the warrant.
Bradley second.
Any discussions, comments? Okay, Ahuja, yes.
Angelakis, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Clap yes.
Hansoge, yes.
Kumsi, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Thank you. So the recommendation from AFC for Article 24 has passed 700. We move next to Article 25, utility easements.
Okay, I move the ASC recommends the utility easements listed in Article 25 as printed in the warrant. Recommends town meeting vote in favor of the utility easements as printed in the warrant.
Bradley
Not
second.
reading them all out.
Any questions? Okay. Ahuja, yes.
Angelakis, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Clap yes.
Hansoge, yes.
Kumsi, yes.
Leslie, yes.
So the recommendation from AFC for Article 25 has passed 700. Article 26,
I would personally like to wait to see whether this is sort of needed still. I mean,
from the select.
yeah, well, it involves eminent domain, et cetera, so.
Are you
And
thinking of
I'm under
waiting?
the impression that it may or may not happen depending on where they negotiate.
Are we thinking of waiting till the town meeting for this?
Or at least Monday.
At least
or
till Monday.
Thursday. We have, it's either in the book or not on Thursday, next Thursday, right? But
It is one I don't think I'd be opposed to voting on the floor if we don't have more
Yeah.
information before then.
because then we'd likely get the latest story
Right.
too,
Mhm.
because it's sort of a negotiation thing now, so.
I
Got
feel
it.
like
So-
even if
Yeah, I
we voted
feel
it
like I
next
don't-
week, it could change by town meeting floor.
Yeah.
I'm not.
So this may be one that is voted.
Will we have the latest story by town meeting?
Well, if we don't, then how are you,
I
the
mean,
town's
who,
gonna vote on it.
who,
one
who
way.
gives us the latest information? John will?
This actually,
Who's the proponent for this one?
It's a select board.
it's the select board, but it's really, building department, right? So doing this.
I mean, it's,
Yeah, you
someone
could
will
speak there.
present it and give us an update on where they're at
Okay.
Yeah.
at town meeting.
If somebody has.
So at this point, communication has stopped. But I do think, to your point about when you vote the article, there could be a cost associated because there's also that portion of the article that's a sum of money. And so we would need to give that to you,
Yeah.
probably for your vote.
So eminent domain, you have to give them some
Yeah.
amount of, well, you'd have to know the value of the property.
So there's a
to
requirement
give
for
it-
an appraisal, which we are doing currently.
Okay,
And we just need the results of that appraisal in order to identify the amount.
so
Yeah, so we could.
sounds like it might
legally
be
vote it.
happening, but it's, well, it doesn't hurt.
You get to know
It
the
makes more
appraisal
sense
amount
if we
as
don't have
well.
the number.
Right.
Okay, so we'll keep this off for now. Article 30, specialized energy code.
Uh-oh.
Can we hold on?
Nice.
Did we have anybody present on this yet? Just
Thank you
kidding.
for your patience.
No, they left.
Leslie, I move that the AFC recommend to town meeting to vote in favor of Article 30 to amend the general bylaw specialized energy code as written in the warrant.
Bradley, second.
Any questions, comments?
I should have asked this before, Peter. I mean, is there any cost implication for the town because of this? I'm guessing no.
There's the cost of changing a bylaw, which that's pretty nominal. I mean,
That's about it, right?
legal costs. Right?
Right. Is the question directed?
Yeah,
May I answer?
to you.
The answer is there's no direct cost to the town. There's potentially down the road, if you look at it, some savings by virtue of grant money from the state. But in terms of direct impact to the town, there's no direct cost to the town.
So the potential cost to the town in the future would be based on the grants which we get.
That's correct. That to the extent that we receive grants from the state, then money that otherwise the town would have to spend in order to undertake certain projects, some of that money could come from the state.
Okay, thank you.
Right. So if you weren't going to do those projects, then there might be added costs to the town. But if you were going to do the projects, there's cost savings. Is what you're saying. Correct.
So I just
And
did
there's some
yeah.
costs sometimes for applying for grants or figuring out costs, whatever. But
Yeah.
that's hard to predict.
Yeah. So I was just curious on one thing, and since Christy's here, I may put her on a spot here. Christy, do you know, like, when this zoning bylaws happen, what kind of legal cost is involved to get that done per zoning bylaw change from our council?
I don't know if there's any cost associated with changing a zoning bylaw.
Okay.
I don't know.
So we have town council review all of the bylaws, so that's actually already happened because they review it as part of the warrant. But I think the cost is pretty nominal, compared. And then this is actually, excuse me, an amendment to the general bylaws. So there's a little bit more of a cost when it's the zoning because we actually have that E-code online, and so we have to send it away to general code. But for the general bylaws, we just print that ourselves. So we update it online. So there's really no cost associated to updating the general bylaw.
Got it. I was wondering, like, what's the cost versus a litigation cost of? I'm sure the litigation is what is contributing to, like, the.
Yes.
The big legal
Yeah.
bill.
So the legal,
Because
yeah.
we're-
Because we
we're
are changing
reviewing
the bylaws.
warrants.
That's what I was.
Yeah,
assuming.
no.
That's all probably very well budgeted because that's not out of the
Right.
ordinary. We
Right.
always review warrants.
Right. So
Don't know-
we actually track litigation versus non-litigation costs so that we're
Yeah.
for sort of the normal course of business, making sure that we're covering that in our budget, which I would say that warrant review is normal course of business.
Sounds good. Thank you. Okay, so we had the discussion. Any other?
Yeah, just to me, I think the main point of this is probably less the carrot of the potential grants, because they may come, they might not come, who knows their value, but it's whether, I mean, I think it's a step in the right direction.
Going into
So
the
if
right
you-
direction,
If you
yep.
like the ecology part of this, I think, at least for me, that would be what would sell me on it more than the
Agree.
potential money part.
In my sense, this is going to be more pervasive. More and more towns are going to be doing this. So this is just not a matter of if, but when.
Yeah, thank you. All right. If no more discussions, Ahuja, yes.
Angelakis, yes.
Bradley, yes.
Clap, yes.
And so, yes.
Kumsi, yes.
Leslie, yes.
Thank you. The Article 30 has been recommended by AFC to the town, 700. And we are done. So we have two, which, just to confirm, we have 1,
Budget.
2, 3, 4 at the moment, which are remaining, including the operating budget. So probably by the end of the night, we may have just 3 remaining. Okay, we now move to the operating budgets.
I was going to suggest they start off with the one that Jane doesn't vote on.
Oh, I can vote on it now.
You can vote on it. Your husband
Why
not
couldn't you
working.
vote
He's
on
not
it
at the Department of
before?
Public Works anymore. Nope.
Oh,
Breaking news?
Yeah.
Did you just tell him?
So now I
Never
can
mind.
vote on it.
What'd you do
Well,
to him?
that's not a good thing for the
What did
town.
I do?
You mean he
How did you
doesn't
fix
drive by
it?
my house in one of those big trucks?
Not anymore. We're a solid week and a half into not working there anymore. So,
who your husband did?
yeah.
Oh,
All right, we're free and clear.
Okay.
Oh, and I also wanted to mention to people, just that, for new people too, the actual motion for this article is, also includes the transfer of the $450,000 of free cash.
Yes.
And also other aspects, generally doing money for OPEB from several accounts and things like that. So you're not shocked at town meeting when you hear a motion, it's not just the budget.
That's a good point. So
Yeah.
we're completing the motions and I'm happy to share them so you can look at them. But one of the things that I think we hear often is what about the Pulte money? And so we do have within our fiscal management policies a strategy where we move money. We have a fund that was established by the state legislature at the request of the town, where all of the taxes that come from the Pulte development go into this separate fund, and they can be used for anything for which we borrow, and they can also be used to pay down debt. So our strategy is to use those funds to pay down debt, and so that is also part of the budget motion.
so property taxes?
Yep, and excise tax.
Really?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Well, you just think of it this way, you're not paying for schools, I guess, you're paying
I
all
guess.
you're paying for all for capital,
I guess.
our loans.
Yeah, so the idea
Yeah.
being that it was essentially a funding source or an area town that wasn't previously taxed.
Yeah.
And so using those funds, setting those funds aside, so that we could use them for other things. So it's getting in the weeds, but eventually, based on the long-term capital plan, the idea would be that that fund would grow and could be used for capital items going forward. So,
Interesting.
Yeah, it certainly seems like an overcomplication to me, but it was passed many years ago, so.
So that pool of money is not part of the town budget? I mean, is it not part of the town income?
Not part
it
of the
is. I mean, we receive it as
revenue.
revenue, but it sits in a different fund. And so we use it to pay down debt.
So 15 years ago, or whenever we did this, like there was a big panic because we had too much debt was the thought. So this was a way when they came up with the strategy that helped mitigate the debt to be paying it down. So
Yeah. So the fund was established with the idea that we had all these building projects coming forward. And so we should take this new revenue that we didn't recognize previously and let it build up so that we could pay for renovating buildings. But then it didn't really come fast enough for the projects that we were doing. So in 2020, we created this debt strategy when we were talking about, I think it's 2020, maybe it was right before that. The discussion happened around the fail school project. So because we had all this debt and we knew we were going on more debt, let's use the money now to pay down debt, and then eventually it would grow once we get debt to a lower.
And this is aside from the money they give you anyway, right? They give you money to offset
The-
that's the mitigation.
Yeah, that's
That's
mitigation
not-
money related to the
yeah.
affordable housing. Yeah.
Okay,
But that's a certain number of payments based on the number of buildings.
right.
Yeah. But yes, it's separate. Yep.
Thank you.
So effectively, your budget for debt, if you didn't, you'll see where this thing gets moved it basically into that. So this money essentially is part of ends up being part of the operating budget in the sense that otherwise the operating budget would be paying fully for the debt. So it's kind of a wash, but it is sort of, it's like an earmark, sort of. It gets used for this.
it's like a saving strategy. I mean, like, you put a portion of your money, income into
Yeah.
a separate bucket that,
Into a-
So you put it in a
you forget
bucket, I
about
think
it
was-
and you'll probably use it for a rainy day fund or for college education,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So, and here in this case, we are trying to pay off the debt based on the political community.
Right.
Interesting.
And this is covered in your award-winning budget book, somewhere in the back or somewhere that does discuss the multi money. So you could read about it someday when you
When I can't fall asleep. All right.
fall asleep. So
Okay.
I guess were there. Where do you want to start? Are there budgets that people want to vote individually? I guess is the which you have to sort. Otherwise,
That's right. I had. Yes.
were there any notes on that?
Yes, so I think I'll start off with which ones we want to vote separately versus together. So I'll go one by one, and whichever one you would like to vote separately, you can say a yes or question. I think we can say, I think the way I've heard is question. So
Yeah, that's
I'll keep saying the department, and if you have a question on any of those departments, we can,
and you can even just say the department if people are specific to which one of those,
Yep.
then we could break it down.
whether
If
it's
you hear
salary
a
or whether
question,
it's
but otherwise,
expense,
it might
yes.
go through quicker.
Yep.
Guys, can you tell me the page number?
So this
Is the budget table?
operating
it's not
budget
in the
document that I had
But
shared.
there was a new one sent out, Chris. I don't know if you got it.
Oh, everybody got it.
Well, he might not
It's
have
an
printed
email.
it.
Yeah, you might not have it printed.
So there was an updated budget table email. I had the email up here in a second.
Although
it was
there are
from
only
Prashant
4 items
yesterday.
that are different than the original ones. Very similar.
Yesterday at 7:45 from Prashant.
So that's what we are gonna go through department by department. And if you have no questions on any of those department salary and expense lines, then you just say question, and then we just vote for them together. And the ones where you have question, we'll go through afterwards. Okay, let me start off. Town moderator. Select board town manager. Finance committee. Finance. Legal. Information technology and communication. Central purchasing. Town clerk. Election and registration
I don't think there is a budget for them anymore. It's
for
only there for record.
election and registration doesn't have it. It's only for
Yeah,
that.
got
Yep,
moved out.
yep. But
That's
since
why it's an article.
the line item, so.
Oh.
Yep. Planning department. Zoning board of appeals. Insurance. Police department. Fire department ambulance.
So does the police department budget include the chief's negotiation which happened recently?
Yes, it has been updated with that as well. Yep.
It doesn't include the officers, so that's not finished yet,
So without that, how can we approve this portion?
because we would have to add money at a future date. Right?
So if we settle the contract prior to town meeting, we would give you a new number,
Yep.
and then you would probably vote on the floor with that number. If we don't, then it would likely come to the October town meeting as a different article.
For just the amount that
Right,
we owe
That
for
has been-
fiscal 27 increase, but right now, if we don't settle by this town meeting, there'll also be the 50 fiscal 26 money we owe, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we probably 2 articles, maybe. I don't know if you do it in one or not.
So I forget that.
Well, that's why.
Yeah.
Even for right now, because
Just 2 articles.
article.
So That actually, and just to remind, and I'm sorry, I forget this. If there's a, like this goes back the prior year as well, right? So if we have some areas, would that be getting adjusted as a prior year bill, or how would that get adjusted? So the salary negotiation that happens through a union contract, but it goes back in time for the previous fiscal year as well, right?
No, for just this fiscal
For
year.
just this
But that's why we have that separate article, because that would be, because we wouldn't be able to raise it in the fiscal 27 budget. We would have to have the article for the retro pay. And it would
Right.
be, even though we're in this fiscal year, since we've already set the tax rate for this fiscal year, it would be a free cash transfer, and it would essentially be retro pay for this fiscal year.
So I know we were going through and calling out once we have questions, but we're already making Christy answer questions. So I'll just go ahead and ask my police wages question if that's all right.
Go ahead.
And now I'm like doing it wrong, but we've already made her start answering questions. So we have a 4% increase in salary and wages. I know it includes the chief. Is it just the patrol officers that's out, and there are other wage increases in here, or what makes up the bulk of that?
Sure. So, so there's two non-uniform positions, and then actually, so there's two non-uniform. Then there's the chief has his own contract, and then the deputy chief is non-union, and then we also have the supervisors union.
And the supervisors are settled.
They
and
are
included
settled,
here.
yes. And then it also would include any step increases that we anticipate for patrol. So that's something that's already part of their current contract that they're operating under, and so that was budgeted. Okay. Yep.
So the only thing it doesn't include is the COLA.
So the
Or
COLA
any
fund.
other like oddball things.
So,
like
right. So
the,
any other
stipends
adjustments
or
that would
this, that,
be
the other thing.
settled. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
But yeah, from the budget book, if you see in this number, I think the chief salary has been accommodated. Has been accommodated in this version. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
To your point, Jane, I mean, there is a significant increase in the police compared to the fire. I mean, it could be because of the number of people who work in police compared to fire.
No, there's more
So
people. who are-
similarly, the fire department does not have a settled contract.
Okay.
They're a little bit different than the patrol union because their current contract goes through the end of this fiscal year. So, whereas the patrol union's contract started on July 1st of 2025, thank you. The fire union's fire union's current contract ends this summer, so June 30th of 26. So for both of those unions, because they're unsettled for fiscal 27, there's no increase being shown here, except for those steps that Walter mentioned. The fire department only has one union, so there's one administrative position, and then the chief has a contract which is settled and included here, and then he has a deputy as well who's non-union.
Just one more question, Christy. The expenses for the police is 32.7. Is that because of the vehicle which we're trying to buy?
Is that because of what? I'm sorry.
The expenses for the police department.
That's not the vehicle. The
That's not
vehicle
the
is its own
No,
budget.
that's
So this
actually
is levels of, yeah.
that's actually related to the body worn camera software.
Okay.
And
So I'm sorry, the only change in the salary and wages from the original budget to this is Chief Minardi's contract? It's
Yes.
a pretty significant increase.
it's a significant increase from the last budget table.
Yeah. We went from 166 to 180. It's a $17,486 increase.
Yeah,
Yep.
Okay.
the
That-
way
that
that
sounds
that's
right.
structured, he gets a big bump the first year, and the next year it's the COLA, so the rate.
Yeah, so
Right,
all of
right.
the positions currently that have individual contracts, the second and third year of the contracts are the increases whatever the other non-union employees get.
Okay.
But
So
this
the
would be the
idea is that
first-
there's sort of a jump between the two, and then it.
Every 3 years you get a big jump, or a jump.
Has it already
I don't
been
know if
3
it's big,
years? Minardi hasn't been chief for 3 years, right?
Yeah, so his contract,
Time flies, Jane.
I've seen it for last 2 years since I've been here.
yeah. So his contract is expiring on June 30th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a 3-year contract.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, we typically enter 3-year contracts. Yep. With unions and individual employees that have contracts.
So as he enters into 4th year or the second contract, the bump is about 183K.
No, the bump is not 183K.
That's what it says. Oh,
No, because that's all salary and wages
That's
right
all
now.
salary and
Yeah.
wages.
That's between last year and this year.
my bad.
Yeah.
Wow. 183K bump.
I mean, it is a 10% increase though.
It's 8.66%. Yeah.
It's a pretty big
Okay,
increase.
I think we kept one exception since you were new, that we let you have one question. But after this, we'll first get which departments have questions,
I'm blaming my
and
bad
then we'll
behavior.
come to the questions.
Okay.
You
My bad.
took advantage, which is fine.
My bad.
Okay, so yeah. Fire department ambulance. Community development. Weights and measures. Animal control. Elizabeth Regional Vocational School. Department of Public Works. Any question?
Yeah, you can ask questions now too.
I know. It's very exciting.
DPW Snow and Ice. Electricity. Sanitary landfill. Health Department. Council on Aging. Youth and Family Services. Veteran Services. Trustees of Soldiers Memorial. Library. Recreation. So I hope everyone knows, right, what we are doing right now. If no one has any questions on each of these departments, we go ahead and do a bulk vote on all of them. I believe I said Cultural Council. I'll just repeat it. Cultural Council. Historical Commission. Debt. Country Club Enterprise. Sewer Enterprise. Sewer Enterprise. Wastewater Treatment Plant. Water Enterprise. Stormwater. Waste Management.
This is what was landfill, in essence.
Earlier landfill, yeah. And then we move to School Department.
I think we already
That's it.
did. Did we do Norfolk Aggie already? Was that?
Ooh.
I don't think we did. I
It's not
think we need to do
Assabet.
Norfolk Aggie.
Separately.
I mean, it's a separate line. So yeah, I think we have Westborough Schools, Assabet, and Norfolk. are
All
sort
combined
of
as a school
three.
department, yeah.
Well, they're not though. Assabet and Norfolk Aggie are not
They're
part of our
separate
school department.
budgets.
So they're all sort of 3 separate budgets, 3 lines to vote.
Okay. So I'll go one by one. Westborough Schools. Any questions? Elizabeth Regional School. We had a presentation as well, so we can refer that. Norfolk County Agricultural.
I just have one general question, I guess, for Christie is, Assabet seems to be listed amongst all the other, after animal control, but the Norfolk isn't. I don't know if that's something we want to change.
It's in here
So
twice.
when you get to the end and you get to the schools, they have the 3 schools budgets listed, but Assabet's also listed
Separately.
in the middle of in
After
between
animal
animal control and DPW. Or either it seems like Norfolk should be in both too, or that it shouldn't be there or something.
Yeah, I think.
Probably cleaner to take it out.
I think also you didn't read cable TV enterprise.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna.
That's because it's showing on the last page. It's not showing earlier.
Got it. Yeah, I haven't read any of those enterprises. Do I need to do that one by one?
Well, cable's the only one.
Cable
not-
is the only
the
one
only
because
one.
rest has been covered.
I
Got
just
it.
wanna
Because you did read Country Club wastewater, water, and
Yep.
stormwater,
Yep.
so it's just cable TV.
So any questions on cable TV enterprise fund?
So I guess just a quick question, that includes the money that the town would provide as well as the money that comes from
Franchise.
Verizon and Charter? So I don't have a question.
We voting the whole table as a
The
block?
whole children.
I have.
I've never done that before.
I don't remember that. Yeah.
It's like the budget voting lottery. Like we won, let's quick vote before anybody changes their mind.
Or for somebody asks questions in the middle of it.
Leslie, I move the AFC recommend town meeting vote the budget as listed under, currently under town manager recommended budget fiscal 2027.
Bradley, second.
Now,
Any
what about Assabet being listed twice? Don't we need to
will
note
be
that?
fixed and it's
So we'll fix that for your
Yeah,
report.
in our
Okay.
report, it'll actually say AFC recommended budget instead of town manager, so we're in charge.
Oh, okay.
Taking over from
We can list
Christie.
it however we want.
Okay.
So Christy, just to confirm, that line will be removed from individual department and kept under the school department itself, or will we have?
I don't think so. I think it's just, I think we'll probably do it the way that we've always done it, where Assabet is separate. Because I think the superintendent usually makes her presentation at the school department, so I don't think we'll want it to be confused.
Okay.
And then we'll put Norfolk Aggie in the right spot, and then the cable TV advisory, or cable enterprise fund, yes.
Awesome. And you
just-
seconded.
One question.
Yeah.
Did we start the debate?
It's on the discussions and comments. Yeah.
So there are some sections where we don't have any 2027 budget, meaning, I mean, for example,
There is none.
we're not doing any expense on that particular item.
Yeah, I think
Like the
you're
town
talking
moderator
about-
is $0. He just,
They're there usually just for historic reasons. So for instance, the landfill budget, if you wanted to see what we used to spend on landfill, because the table shows 25 and, fiscal 25, those numbers are there, but there is no expense in fiscal 26, I think, or 27. So that will probably fall off the chart next year, I would guess.
Or it will get closed, something like that.
And then, for instance, the town moderator doesn't take any money, but he did. In fiscal 25, there was a suggested budget.
yeah, so
But
until that
the last
rolls
couple of
off,
years,
it'll
the
show them.
suggestion's been 0. So that's why they're blank.
Okay.
So if it's blank, it's 0.
So that's a paid job, but he's not taking it.
He is allowed, or whatever we would vote for, but in the past, they got a $250 stipend, so to speak. And John's usually turned it down.
That's a lot of money.
And the select board used to get $500 stipend during COVID, or sometime somebody decided not to take it, and they've never taken it since.
But I know at least last year, they all voted and agreed not to take it. Did they have to
Yeah.
vote and agree not to take it again this year, or?
I don't think it was even in.
They have not voted.
I submitted a budget form to Christie that said 0, so
Yeah.
it was not an agreement. It's that the budget that we submitted, that I submitted, essentially made a request for $0.
Right.
That's a lot of money to turn down.
And I think at some point, Steve just stopped putting the money in. Guess if they wanted it now, they'd have to ask for it.
That's right.
And is that similar form submitted by the select board as well?
Well, the select board's listed, so do they get
So, under
select
See,
board town
salary
manager?
wages elected, that used to save $2,500 because there were five
Ah,
people that got
oh, okay,
500 bucks.
okay.
And it's been zero for a long time. The rest is the staff that works in essence for the select
So that's
board.
Christie's salary, 600,000.
Well, her and about five people.
But you could go ahead and change it if you want.
Yes, question.
that's the assistant and myself.
Yeah, I know.
That's just not this.
Amanda.
Great. Yeah. Any other comments, questions? I'm just trying to hold up in case someone's question comes up. So this will be historic. I've never seen an operating expense budget for the last 2 years getting voted together. So let's go for it.
It's a historic move.
Ahuja, yes.
Angelakis, yes.
Bradley, yes?
Clap yes.
And so, okay,
Kumsi, yes.
Leslie, yes. They're all.
Great. So AFC recommends Article 7, the FY 2027 operating budget for all the departments hence presented as yes, 700. So do we have to move separately for the 450 as well, Walter, or to move from the free cash?
Well, you might want to see what the rest of the things in the article are, because ultimately we have to support those. We can vote for that, but there are 3 other items or something in there.
So we draft it for you, but it's technically your
It's our-
motion.
It's our motion.
So,
You'd think,
so I don't know if you've typically voted on it, but certainly it would be up to you if you wanted to change it.
Because someone can.
we'd have that before next Thursday.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get the motions out tomorrow for council to review, so I can just send them to you in draft, but that one is pretty much the same every year, so.
I looked at it the other day, but it didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of history just for that is that the town budget is the finance committee's budget because the history of the state law having essentially towns having advisory finance committees or finance committees is back when I was younger, the finance committee drafted the budget from scratch. And so the budget presented to town meeting was the work product of the finance committee. And then as the town has had increased professionalization, obviously, especially for you newcomers, we now have a town finance team and we have the town manager, and the charter now says that the town manager essentially develops a budget and presents it to the select board and the finance committee and the capital expenditures planning committee based on their work. But historically, since the advisory finance committee is the one who makes the lead recommendation on the budget that's prepared by the town manager, the motion and the article, the finance committee is still the proponent. So I know you just voted to essentially accept every line item, but in the past there were cases, and for instance, last year, if you remember, there was a case where the finance committee wanted to recommend a lower budget than the school committee requested. And so that's historically why the finance committee having the purpose to make the recommendations to the town meeting. And I don't have the state law in front of me, but essentially the state law still has some wording in there that says that the presentation of the budget is one of the responsibilities of the finance committee. So that's the history of why it's still the finance committee are the proponents, even though through the increased professionalization, the finance committee does not prepare the budget from scratch like it used to, say, 40 years or so ago.
Thank you, John.
So I think when you get the motions, it'd be worth at least going through the group. Also, a year or two ago, I don't know, maybe it was 2 years ago, there was some interest in one of our members of changing the amount of the 450,000, which we didn't as a group support. The individual ended up making the motion on town floor, but
So we
that is still our motion.
Exactly.
And so we would.
So we could recommend different amounts in the budget?
Yeah,
It's our,
I hope you were aware of that.
No, I was as we were going through everything, but at this point,
But you generally would have you have a good rationale for what specifically why you want to do something.
Yeah.
like it. And if it's the school budget, you can just, it's the whole school budget number. There's no individuals, where here you could say
Right.
you don't want any expenses in central purchasing or something.
Yeah.
Weird like that if you want it, or lowered by some percent. But so generally, that's why we have the meetings, or if we did have questions on these, we could have had, say it's one of Christie's budgets, her come in and her and John explain in more detail or something why this particular budget has this and what they knew and
Right.
what they do. Yep. So there's more information, but that also, the budget books give you, department by department,
Plenty of
a narrative
information,
of where
yeah.
it's coming from and what it is and who's in
Yeah.
it and stuff like that. And you'll have more time to look at that once you catch your breath
I
after
know.
town meeting.
But the town doesn't get that budget book, so they
Well, it's
don't.
available online,
Oh, really?
so it's a public document. It's on the town manager's website. Just go.
So they've all read it before they come in
I
to
wouldn't
vote.
say that, but I would say it's available.
Every word.
It's very available.
They're going to grill us on those.
And
There is a
it-
copy of handbook of AFC which is available in the town meeting when they enter. So whatever AFC book that we will publish, there will
And they
be-
go back for years, actually.
yes,
Huh.
that will be available for all. Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much for going through the operating budget. That was a big number. Next, we move to the liaison reports and discussion.
We did that 20 minutes. That's taken like multiple days.
If I could just add a couple of other things, because Christy, one of the questions I have is, do you think we could get a digital version of the, and I don't mean a PDF of the budget summary?
The table.
The table, yeah, if you don't mind, thank you.
The PDF?
The PDF, yeah.
PDF is what I shared, right?
No, we gave the PDF. He's looking. I think he's looking.
An
you're
Excel
looking for
version
Excel
or
version, okay.
some version
Yeah.
like that, so
Yep.
just,
We'll fix those things first and then send. it
yeah,
over.
grateful,
Yeah.
appreciate it, thank you.
And John did say that he's going to send the pages, those 2 pages tomorrow. I think he said for the R&R, so you can look at that for your next meeting.
Right.
The 2 or 3 pages that are always in there with
Yeah.
summaries.
With the summaries, yes.
Good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Really
Christy.
appreciate
Thank
it,
you.
spending all your
Appreciate
time
it.
with us lately.
And the last note I wanted to have before we walk away from the article voting is that in the past we've had the place where we could capture comments, the pro and against, and I think that in general that's a very it's an appreciated tool for the folks. But we haven't actually. Has anybody captured what those pros and cons are?
That's what we'll start now, right?
Well, I don't know.
I think we would
look what you wanna
probably
do.
So,
want to do that on Monday.
yes.
So
And-
which is why I'm hoping to sort of put out there that folks have the budget worksheet that we've shared, like especially if there's a no. I mean, we can all come to an idea as to why the pros are. I can certainly come up with a first pass for that. But I would like for the folks who have voted no for something
Yep.
to share a couple of sentences as to why, and we'll try and aggregate that into a way that we can capture it. So it'll be in the worksheet. It'll also be in all the documentation that flows. So you don't have to, but if we want to represent the way you're thinking fairly, so you'll be represented, please, for those who have voted no for something, just a sentence or two as to why, and I'll make sure that we can try and represent that. Or I'll try and wordsmith that. So
Thank you.
hopefully in advance of Monday, I'll hopefully have a first pass. I will have a first pass of the letter for them.
Awesome.
So
Yep,
thank you.
makes
Thank you
sense.
for letting me
Thank
finish
you.
that. So we can go to liaisons if you'd like.
Absolutely. No, I think those recommendations would be good. If everybody can give their inputs, especially on the no's. I think we have to give it on the yes as well.
Well, we generally try to.
Yes.
Unless it's completely honest, but so I would suggest actually if people have some real reason they want to express their yes, they provide that for you as well, right?
A very fair point. If you want to hear your position articulated, pro or against. Against is going to be tougher for me to represent because it's a smaller group,
Right.
and I can wing it on the yeses for most of these. But certainly, if you have something you want to represent for the yeses as well,
Yeah.
put it in there, and I'll do my best to synthesize the distilled thoughts of this group into the notes.
So how do you
Like-
plan to collect that, Andrew? Are you planning to put that worksheet at some shared location or a document at a shared location?
So I've shared it as an Excel so folks can send those back. Or I know that you were sharing things regularly. I don't know that we're into the habit of looking there, but we
Yep.
can.
Okay.
Like Prashant's done an amazing job of actually having a place like a SharePoint people go and edit documents. So you can go to the SharePoint that Prashant's already made reference to and shared things for, or send the document to me. We can't discuss it. So if you send me something, just make it an attachment, say, here's the notes. But short of that, like whatever works. I think that ultimately SharePoint will be the better place to start aggregating this, but we have muscle memory to build around doing that. We don't have that yet. So I want to be more flexible.
Maybe for this weekend, send Andrew any comments, and then that could go on a SharePoint next week where we could be reviewing.
Review all
during the
together.
week.
I have trouble printing from your SharePoint. I don't know why.
You might have to download it first.
I
or
did.
something.
I did. I
Those
downloaded
didn't
them,
work.
or I copied and pasted it onto a Word document, but,
Yeah.
you know.
So, Andrew, if you are okay to
Speak on the
collaborate-
mic. Can you speak on the mic?
If you can collaborate on the SharePoint, I mean, if you can start putting your comments there, people who are interested to collaborate on the document which you're working on, we could do that so that you don't have to copy paste from our documents. into
Sorry, just one thing I want to interject. I apologize. I think the collaborate would not be possible. When we say collaborate, I just want to be very clear that you will just dump in your points there. Any changes, feedback, discussions based on what has been entered has to be on the
Public
meeting
meeting.
itself.
Right.
So you can dump in whatever you are dumping in, and Andrew, it will become easier maybe for Andrew to pick it
Open
up.
meeting policy.
Yeah.
And I will say, folks don't know to necessarily go to the SharePoint. And so whatever works for you, eventually I think we will migrate there.
Yeah.
But I want to keep things as open right now as possible so that I would rather get the information we
Yeah,
put
it's just
there
a
and
way to
I
get
will
given
start
in.
posting things to the SharePoint. I'm not quite there yet, so we will get there though.
But if the SharePoint is the final location where these documents are going to reside, why can't we just go there and like update the document?
Good, it doesn't exist
I think
there
we
right
need to
now.
be extra careful about the open meeting law where editing a document could be considered deliberation. And so I think you have to start by erring on the side of just providing your comments, almost like sending an attachment as an email file. And then, after town meeting's over, can confer with people who are experts on the open meeting law. But just so there aren't any challenges, I think you just have to be very cautious that any sort of interaction could be interpreted as a deliberation. And all deliberation has to be done in a posted open meeting. And so in the past, we have not, there has not been use of anything like SharePoint. It's been an email with either text or an attachment to say, here are my thoughts, and then they would be discussed at an upcoming meeting. So I think if anybody's considering moving to SharePoint or anything like that, you have to be extraordinarily cautious and think it through and maybe even talk about it with people. But for now, just think of it as using any sort of container for information as you put your thoughts there, and any discussion about it has to be done at a meeting.
Yeah, so what we did in the past is somebody would collect all these comments, and then we would discuss it at the next meeting and decide which comments we were going to keep or massage or change slightly. So people weren't sort of editing them offline, but like say people would send to me like the comments, and I would throw them in, and then we would
Discuss them.
Understood.
discuss it in
Yeah.
Yep.
public.
That makes
So-
sense.
Yep.
But it's really makes this meeting much more efficient if you have your thoughts and they're written down somewhere where somebody can, because we have tried wordsmithing while here, and it gets really crazy and slow,
Exactly.
and usually not that effective. So it's better to write the comments ahead and try sending them.
Yep. Okay. So Andrew will come back on that.
Yes.
Thank you. Liaison reports and discussions. Any? Okay.
Busy doing this. About minutes.
Minutes. We are coming next to the approval of the minutes for February 26th. I hope everyone has read them.
I move we accept the minutes of February 26th as written.
Bradley, second.
Any discussions or
I have
feedback?
a little question on the
EST.
rezoning of one research drive. The way it's worded in here, is it correct the way they worded? Let me see. From industrial B to industrial D, it's in the warrant, it's changing IB and ID to BA.
So that's probably incorrect.
Yeah, so I didn't read
Oh,
that.
two highway business, it's the same.
Yeah, to highway business, but it's B and D to BA. I guess they just abbreviated it then. From industrial B and industrial D to
Overlay.
highway business to BA. If it all means the same, then I'm fine with it, but I didn't think that.
Well,
It's,
alphabet soup.
yeah,
Good enough for government work.
yeah, okay.
It captures the idea of the
B and D
conversation.
to
The
B.
details are in the article and the warrant anyway.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
you're
that's where I
right.
got that from, yeah.
It is good that it says the right thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So this was the first one that
Amanda did for
Amanda
us.
did for
which is
us.
quite
Yep.
nice.
So thank you,
Different,
Amanda.
style. You could-
I just read that my name is incorrectly spelled there. So do check your name. My name is Ahuha, so Ahujua. So I've
That's
got
the
to fix
Spanish
that.
pronunciation.
That's right. Yep. Okay. So any other input? So I've corrected my name in that
As
If not-
amended.
as a yep. Okay. Ahuja, yes.
They're okay with you? Angelakis, yes?
Bradley, yes.
Clap abstain.
That's okay, yes.
Kumsi, yes.
Leslie, yes.
The minutes for February 26th are 2026 are approved.
601.
601.
601. Thank you. Any meeting to adjourn.
Yeah, move to adjourn.
Clap
Brad-
second.
Ahuja, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Angelakis, yes?
Bradley, yes.
Clap yes.
It's okay, yes.
Kumsi, yes.
Leslie, yes. That's it.
That's it.
Thank
you
all.
so much. Thank you, Westborough TV. Thank you, Westborough. We are adjourned.